Chaos and absolute mayhem in Bangladesh. The nation has descended into an absolute terrifying madness post Sheikh Hasina's exit. We at the Right Stand have continued to bring you exclusive visuals of how a dangerous pattern had started with targeted violence against the Bangladeshi minorities, largely Hindus, moments after Sheikh Hasina's exit on Monday. That pattern now only taking a far more deadlier and diabolical turn. Have a look at these visuals. Atrocities being carried out against Hindus, Bangladeshi minorities, largely Hindus in Bangladesh. Islamist extremists targeting homes. A genocide of Hindus, quote unquote, is being carried out by Islamist extremists. Now, this comment has been raised by one of the Bangladeshi Hindus, alarmed, who sent desperate messages across for help. Islamist extremists setting homes of Hindus on fire. More than 4,000 attacks have taken place since 2013, as for reports, and this continues unabated over the last 48 hours. Intel sources are telling CNN News18 that there is constant funding from the Gulf to give ammunition to these kind of radical elements who are nothing short of terrorists, and these are people who have long time lived in the Gulf, loaded Islamist radical bent of mind, coming back to Bangladesh and further fueling this. Now, homes and businesses of Hindus have not just been targeted. These people are not just radicals, they're Islamist extremists, and they're carrying it out as a wave of terror against this community, who are again Bangladeshis but minorities, largely Hindus, and this was focused on the Hindu community as per reports. They are entering homes, setting them on fire, kidnapping and assaulting women, not even sparing the children, and not much of it is being reported. Only some of these instances that have been captured on camera are visible here. Intel sources have told CNN News18 that these are Islamist extremists or terrorists who are unleashing terror against Hindus. This is brazen Hindu messiah on display there. Bharat's biggest concern remains the attack on Bangladesh's minorities, largely Hindus, in this very tumultuous neighborhood. Reportedly, 97 Hindu homes, temples and businesses have been targeted in Dhaka alone, the capital alone. There are 64 districts, 29 to 30 of which have reported heavy attacks against minorities, largely Hindus, in Bangladesh. The ISKCON temple in Meherpur, located in Bangladesh's Khulna division, and a Kali temple have been vandalized. Houses of Hindus have been damaged. Hindu councillor Haradan Roy was murdered in Noakhali on Monday. Celebrated musician Rahul Ananda's house has also been attacked and set on fire. Nearly 100 instruments in his house have been burnt down, ladies and gentlemen. Indira Gandhi Cultural Center and the Bangabandhu Memorial Museum set on fire. We have all those visuals and it's shocking. Also a story of further chaos and mayhem playing out on the streets of Bangladesh. Exclusive visuals accessed by CNN News18 via Intel sources show that violence has not died down yet. Cops are allegedly seen open firing at protesters. 30 protesters were allegedly killed in the firing. Initial reports said that the cops tried to shield themselves from an attack on a station, but the pictures show otherwise. They were all standing under the taking cover. Suddenly a group of cops emerge and they just shoot them all down. All of them. Not one of them escaped from there. Now, these kind of brutalities, it's like a free-for-all there. Maruf Raza, defense analyst, with us. We also have Brahma Chalani, strategic affairs expert, with us. But first to Dr. Gobind Chandra Pramanik, Secretary General of the Bangladesh Jatiyo Hindu Mahajot. Thank you very, very much. My namaste and jai hind to everybody. Dr. Pramanik, what is the situation on ground currently?
After escape of Sheikh Hasina, the houses of Awami League Hindu leaders and leaders' houses and business office attacked and different parts of Bangladesh. Under protected temples in villages are destroyed. Idol was destroyed. Hindu, Buddha, Christian Occupation leaders are attacked. Leaders' house attacked. They are against the student possession. So that because Awami League leaders and Awami League Hindu, Buddha, Christian Occupation leaders family house and home attack. So took stand against BNP. Some Hindu leaders took stand Awami League, BNP and Jamaat. they are attracted that now. So now the situation is cool and calm. But the Hindu are terrified now.
Dr.
All over
Pramanik,
Bangladesh.
Dr. Pramanik, who were these people who were attacking the homes? Were these those student protesters? What were they
no.
saying? What was their agenda?
No identified political identity. No political identity.
They had no political
the-
identity.
No.
But what were they shouting? What were they saying? Why were they attacking? Were they specifically targeting minorities' homes, Hindu homes?
Jamaat and BNP leader ensure their leaders and workers no Hindu homes and Hindu houses not attacked. The ensure their leaders. So their leaders already many temple they পাহারা দিচ্ছে তো not Awami League, not BNP, not Jamaat leader. Some terrorists, the identified terrorists are always attacked Hindu temple, Hindu.
So they know the homes, they know the leaders, they know the people, and then they are attacking. But where is the police? Where is the army?
Police, no police. Bangladesh now government free, not government, not police.
There is no government, no police. You're saying
no,
what
no.
is it? Are these attacks still happening, or have things cooled down a little?
Now cool down. Today is no
No attacks today.
no attack today.
No attack. In how many districts? In how many districts of Bangladesh?
26 district, not at all villages not destroyed. Only some people, some Hindu leaders, Awami League leaders, Hindu, Buddha, Christian, Oikobot leaders' house. Not village to village, no.
No. So they have not destroyed all villages, but clearly those who have supported Sheikh Hasina, or those who are.
Yes.
But why have
Some
the temples been attacked? Political party leaders, you will say political violence, Dr. Pramanik. But why temples have been attacked? Why are women and children being attacked?
No, they are not identified. Already at night, village temple was attacked. No town and big temple not attacked.
So village temples are being attacked. The big temples are not being attacked. So
and night, already night.
and they're attacking at night.
At night, yes.
How would you read this situation, Mr. Brahmachalani ji? Dr. Pramanik, please stay on with us.
Well, there is a very dangerous power vacuum in Bangladesh with the army not playing its role. In fact, the army contributed to the situation reaching a point of no return, resulting in Sheikh Hasina's post-ouster. And we have seen that even today, when the Army Chief General Zaman addressed the press, he talked about a swearing in of the interim government tomorrow night. So it'll be 4 days since Hasina was forced to flee Bangladesh before Bangladesh will have even an interim government. But there's a larger issue here, Anand, if I could, raise it.
Yeah.
Which is that some of the blame India should shoulder, because India has this attitude, it's an Indian mindset of being nice to your adversaries. And the roots of Bangladesh's troubles go back to 1971, when India achieved an extraordinary victory. In just a 13-day war, India took 93,000 Pakistani soldiers as prisoners in what remains the largest military surrender after World War II.
Yes.
But none of these 93,000 POWs were handed to Bangladesh to stand trial for war crimes and genocide. Like 3 million people were slaughtered. 2 lakh women were held in rape camps, and 10,000 were forced to flee to India. But not a single Pakistani soldier that we took as prisoner was put on trial for the genocide. Worse was that we did not leave any residual forces in Bangladesh. when we liberated that country. Residual forces for the sake of Bangladeshi security and for addressing Indian security concerns. Stationing residual forces would have spared Bangladesh the national trauma that it suffered, starting with Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's murder, followed by years of coups and counter-coups and systematic attacks on the Hindu minority, whose numbers have dramatically dwindled since Bangladesh became independent. The problem is that the Indian mindset, that goes back to Prithviraj Chauhan, how he pardoned Muhammad Ghori. And then Muhammad Ghori came back, with his army and defeated Prithviraj Chauhan and slaughtered him. So, we don't learn from our own history. We allowed even the war gains of 1971 to be squandered at Simla. The Simla agreement came with no quid pro quo, no effort to even finalize a Kashmir settlement. So everything we did, we just basked in the halo of the 1971 victory. We did not think strategically. We could have prevented the emergence of Bangladesh as a sanctuary for radicals. We could have prevented the Bangladeshi military from becoming an unruly military, a military that has been meddling in domestic politics for a long time. It was only in more recent years that the Bangladeshi military returned to the barracks and stopped interfering in national politics. The fatal mistake that Sheikh Hasina made was on June 23rd this year, when she appointed General Zaman as the army chief because he was married to her own cousin. She thought that he was a safe bet. But the man was known to have pro-China leanings. He was known to be Islamist in his thinking. One of the first things he has done after assuming effective power was to release Khalida Zia, hold talks with Jamaat, promise that the ban on Jamaat will be lifted. These are among his first actions. So, Sheikh Hasina's trust in General Zaman was so misplaced, and now we have a situation which is chaotic and a major burden on regional security.
Maruf Raza?
Well, Anand, I must compliment Professor Chalani. He has very ably summed up all the problems that are there in Bangladesh, and they've been there since its creation in 71-72. The issue that we need to understand is India won the war. That was a military exercise. But we lost the chance to reaping the peace benefits. And Indian generals, and General Jacob writes about it in his biography, had warned the Indian diplomats and the intelligence community that if you don't build in safeguards for the minorities now, there's going to be huge problems. But the arrogance of our bureaucrats led them to say that, General, you won the military part of the campaign, now let us handle it, we know what to do. If you knew what to do, why the hell is this happening? Because you created a fertile ground for it to happen. Secondly, India intervened there, and India had a lukewarm argument for the international community that we are going in to support the Bangladeshi military, which we have ties with. You went in for a humanitarian effort to save massacres by the Pakistan army. And Brahma rightly says that not one of the Pakistanis were handed over. In fact, very few people know that at the point of surrender at the Dhaka race grounds, the Bangladeshis wanted to get hold of the Pakistan army, and the army surrendered and immediately thereafter was allowed to hold back and carry their weapons for protection. It never happens that a surrendered soldier is given back his weapon. But we allowed that to happen. And again, we've allowed a lot of things to develop there and happen because we wanted to pay the nice guy. Right now also, here is a chance for India to turn the corner. And what India needs to do is pick up the phone and tell General Zaman that, General Zaman, you've got 12 hours, and I'm saying 12 hours, to take the situation under control, or we are sending in a peacekeeping force. You could bloody well send a peacekeeping force into Sri Lanka, where you did not have that much of a strategic interest, because the Americans and others had told you that Sri Lanka is asking for help. If you don't give it, then Pakistanis will come in. Right. Here, can't you send a peacekeeping force to make sure, and when the Indian army enters the streets, believe me, I know the Bengali mindset. They will put their tails between their legs and disappear into their houses, because they take the Indian army very seriously. Not that they can battle the Indian army, but they've built up the entire infrastructure of the Pakistan armed forces on the grounds that if India attacks, we will be able to stand up to them. Let's see, can they stand up to India? And India would be recognized and given credit by the international community that we prevented a massacre and mayhem on humanitarian
But is the international community even bothered at this time? There seem to be all eyes everywhere, but not on Bangladesh. Dr. Pramanik, do you believe the international community has responded to the calls of help, the fervent calls of help? Do you believe that minorities and their interests have been protected ably, especially by those who have orchestrated this regime change in Bangladesh? Dr. Pramanik.
Yes, we agree. International community, if the strong protest, we have benefit, will be benefited.
But they will benefit, but will you benefit? Have they actually made that? Brahmachalani, that's the big question. The kind of uproar that should be seen because of what's happening on the streets of Bangladesh has not manifest. There was so much more noise for what is happening with respect to activity in Gaza, with respect to activity elsewhere in the world. But here there is no talk. There's no strong words that have come in from the West. In fact, the entire story itself that this has been orchestrated by the West. And the person who's been propped up as the stand-in president or the stand-in premier of the country is again said to be hand in glove with the entire Western deep state.
Well, how can there be Western outrage when Western newspapers are reporting Bangladesh from New Delhi? The New York Times, for example, reporting from New Delhi. They're not reporting the attacks on minorities. They're not reporting the killings of Awami League leaders and activists systematically. Awami League leaders are being targeted. They are being hacked to death. A number of them have been burned to death. None of this has appeared. In fact, I have read more from online Bangladeshi newspapers than I've read even from Indian newspapers about what's happening in Bangladesh. This is the state of play. And this makes me very angry that atrocities that are happening in Bangladesh are not being reported to the world, and all that is being done is to gloss over the violence, the mayhem in Bangladesh, paint Sheikh Hasina as a dictator who caused her own political demise, and talk about the Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus being the new savior of Bangladesh. This is the story in the Western media. And no effort is being made to present the ground situation. The ground situation in Bangladesh remains very, very fragile, with no semblance of law and order. Even the army chief today, while addressing the press, admitted that while there has been significant improvement, it will take 3-4 more days to have even a semblance of some semblance of law and order.
Yes, Maruf Raza. I'm just seeing a WikiLeaks document that talks about Muhammad Yunus in February trying to say that he is interested. He is interested to enter the political fray and said that he was reviewing his options. So there has been, this has been brewing for a while, and that's what the WikiLeaks papers actually say. We'll come to that in a bit, but Maruf Raza, you were saying something. Please go ahead.
Yeah, one is that Mr. Muhammad Yunus is a good friend of the Clintons, has got his relations in the United States well entrenched. He is an economic guru of sorts. The BRAC initiatives and others are his brainchild. But we need at this stage not titular role models. You need somebody who can bring in order with a rod of iron. That's one. Secondly, we don't need to be looking for copybook solutions that our bureaucrats and our diplomats always look. Oh, it's not our job to get involved in somebody else's problem. If it's not your bloody job to get involved in somebody else's problem, then why did you get involved in Sri Lanka? And you, till the very end, you read the papers regarding the Indian peacekeeping force operation. It was hardly a peacekeeping force, it was a peace enforcing force. So you put a peace enforcing force in place and enforce peace. And you need to define very clearly what are the red lines. We never did that in Sri Lanka. So the army was fighting with arms tied behind their backs. They never had a clear role given out to them. And the benchmarks kept changing. And one of the architects of that was the so-called guru of foreign policy in India, Mr. J.N. Dixit, who also been High Commissioner in Bangladesh. So we need to be very clear. As a country, you want to play a global role, sort out your own backyard, damn it. Forget about a global role. You don't have the guts to step out and say that you'll play a peacekeeping role in Ukraine, a peacemaker. And what role do you want to play? You want to only give aid where the economies are sinking like Maldives, and even then the Chinese get past you in the race for domination. You need to be very clear. Bangladesh is an important country. We have a choice today. You either let Bangladesh come onto the Indian side, or you let the Pakistanis and Chinese move in and establish a solid base, and then be cornered and keep complaining for the next 10 to 15 years in seminar halls in Delhi, which our intellectuals love to sit down and waffle there. They pontificate about what India could have done, could not have done.
Right.
You missed out on the opportunity to recognize Tibet, and China moved in and took over Tibet. You missed out on the opportunity to respond to China's footprints in Nepal and Sri Lanka. They are there again.
Yes.
China is providing 80% of the military hardware to the Bangladesh army. Sensitivities with China are strong in Bangladesh. They train with them, they engage with them, they travel to China, and China has bagfuls of money and we can bail them out. We are doing nothing. We are just,
point is that between
we are like the Rajas and Maharajas of the British time who sat and watched from the fences as Punjab went under British control.
True.
Sorry, back to you.
No, true. What I'm also saying is that in the neighborhood, we are seeing nations that are batting between the West or the US-led hegemony to the West and the Chinese hegemony. And between these two is where the whole game is being played, while India is always on the sidelines, and we have got to bear the brunt of it either ways. The regime changes in Pakistan, regime change in Bangladesh, both orchestrated by the West. But then China moves in to seek benefit or eke out benefit, be it in Pakistan, Afghanistan, or now in this case in Bangladesh. Of course, in Nepal, we talked about Maldives, you touched upon it. What's happening in Sri Lanka? We are seeing it manifest. What are we doing as a nation, and how soon is it going to hurt us? Plus, strategically, another question is there a slew of anarchy that could be on display on our streets and a forced regime change because certain nations or certain entities don't like our exercising our own strategic autonomy? Let's talk about that now. Dr. Pramanik, thank you very, very much for your time. Brahma Chalani ji and Maruf Raza, please stay on with us. Ambassador Pinakaranjan Chakravarti should be joining us any moment. But here's more, ladies and gentlemen. Our security affairs editor Manoj Kumar Gupta getting us these details. That Bangladesh and Sheikh Hasina, despite her proximity with Beijing, was always close to Bharat. And Bharat is now keeping a very close watch on what's going to happen in Bangladesh. Intel sources are saying that first challenge remains maintaining strategic ties with the new government after Sheikh Hasina's ouster. The second challenge remains dealing with the new government, which will be guided by the invisible foreign hand that led to Hasina's ouster. The new leadership will mean new realignments in the region, and gaining confidence and trust will be a major issue. With a new government in Dhaka leaning towards China and the West may not be favorable for us at all. Negotiating on trade, security, diplomacy with Dhaka will be another challenge. Resolution on long pending water and border disputes will be another major challenging area, especially the delineation of the enclaves, the swapping of the enclaves, the Teesta Water Treaty, so many other aspects. Influx of radicals, Rohingyas, and illegal immigrants, one of our biggest concerns. And with attack on the Bangladeshi minority, largely Hindus, on the rise, their safety remains a big concern for us. And of course, what was orchestrated in the neighborhood, can it also manifest here? That becomes a larger concern, with a lot of leaders from the opposition talking about anarchy and something similar happening in Bharat itself. Ambassador Pinakaranjan Chakravarti with us. Will be joining us in a bit. Maruf Raza and Brahmachalani ji, stay on. Maruf Raza, you want to take the lead on this one. What does it mean for us as a nation at various levels? And can this be orchestrated? What's been orchestrated in Bangladesh, what we saw in Sri Lanka, what we saw in Pakistan, are these just trial runs to see how it can be done in Bharat? Should we be really worried about that?
You see, the Chinese and the Pakistanis are working in tandem, and they are very clearly testing the waters in Bangladesh. Secondly, as far as we are concerned, what we need to worry most about is the spillover of the problem of Bangladesh into India and the border areas with Bangladesh. And to prevent that from happening, we have to move in and provide discipline. Now, we'll have Indian diplomats, and they are experienced in this business. Ambassador Pinakaranjan Chakravarti has done 2-3 tenures in Bangladesh. And they'll say, no, we cannot interfere in another country's business, etc. The fact of the matter is, what is the point of being a big-sized nation, which many see as a power of consequence in South Asia, if you don't have the guts to step up to the challenge? And I believe there is a challenge here in the interest of the people of Bangladesh, in the interest of India, in the interest of our reputation as a country that can stand up and make the laws known to neighboring states where there is turmoil, that we are not going to allow our neighbors to burn, and especially the Hindu minorities. We have so much of talk from this government and its hangers-on about CAA and everything to provide a protective cover to people who are harassed in minority groups in Pakistan or Bangladesh or wherever. They are being vandalized. They are being killed, burnt. Indians are seeing the shocking spectacle of temples being, burned down. Aren't we going to move in? What is our thin line of patience all about? We need to make it clear that you've got 24 hours, and tell General Zaman that you've got 24 hours to get your act together, Jansab, and you know what the Indian Army is capable of. We'll come in and we will kick those bloody rogues into shape. We have a reputation of doing that. We know how to deal with internal disturbances, and we'll do it again. But can the Indian government make this announcement?
Well, that's one aspect of trying to protect the interests, and also, but the other aspect, Brahmachalani ji, Ambassador Pinakaranjan Chakravarti is with us. But Brahmachalani, there are two layers to this question and what we should wonder. One is the impact on our borders and what's going to happen to us strategically. The other one is that if there are entities who are so strong that they can orchestrate regime changes in nations around us, what is stopping them from orchestrating anarchy on our streets?
Absolutely.
That's a good question, Anand. What happened in Bangladesh could be called a color revolution in disguise. Because powerful external forces were aligned against Hasina's government. The Biden administration came out openly against Hasina's government last year. In more recent months, we have seen, even when Hasina went to Beijing recently, that China was displeased with her. So we had powerful forces working against Hasina, wanting her to be out of office. Was that an important factor that fueled the domestic protests and the violence that ultimately led the army to oust Hasina? That's something that needs to be investigated. But certainly when we had the farmers protests in India, you remember that Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada cheered on the farmers openly interfering in the internal affairs of India. And the farmers' protest was portrayed in the Western media as a movement for reform, and that the government was accused of actually trying to suppress that movement. So we had a little preview of what a larger protest movement in India could look like, the kind of support it will get in the West. The fact is that just as Hasina's government was not liked by powerful foreign interests, the Modi government, let's face it, whether we like Modi or dislike him, the fact is that the Modi government is abhorred in the West. The Western powers would like Modi government to be out of office, and so would China. So there are powerful forces also aligned against the Modi government. There should be no doubt about that. But I think what Maroof is suggesting is some proactiveness on India's part, and he's right. He's always been very clear-headed. I've admired Maroof for his clear-headed thinking, which often is lacking in India. We need to be a bit more proactive without being aggressive, without being our appetite for risk should not go to such an extent that we act in ways that are counterproductive to our interests. We need to be both cautious as well as proactive. And finding the right balance is the real challenge for Indian policy. But if I could just make one last point, which is that look at the impact of what has happened in Bangladesh on our interests. It's first the longest border that we have with any country, with any neighbor, is with Bangladesh. And this is a very porous border that cannot be effectively patrolled. And the overthrow of the Hasina government and the return of the army in the saddle have put India's vital interests at stake, including the interests that we have vis-a-vis Bangladesh, the transit rights, the cooperation on stopping illegal migration to India, the counterterrorism collaboration with Bangladesh, all that is at stake. And then on top of that, the developments in Bangladesh